Hi everyone, thank you for coming to this workshop on addressing chronic absenteeism in schools. And today we're going to learn some strategies to help you address the students who are chronically absent in your classes. My name is Colette. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any time to ask any questions you might have. For your warm-up, the first thing you're going to do is fill out this childhood adverse experiences survey. I'm going to give one to each of you. They're just yes or no questions that you have to answer. And then you're going to tally up your points for every yes that you answer. You're going to tally up the points and then give yourself a total at the end. I'm going to give you about 4 minutes to fill out that survey, and then I'll tell you what to do next. So I'm going to start the timer now. Okay, walking around the room, it seems like most of you are done. So now I'm going to give you a minute to just talk amongst yourselves about the survey. And then I'm going to ask some volunteers for you to raise your hand and tell me what you and your partner have discussed. Obviously, this is a little bit of a personal questionnaire, so you don't have to discuss with your partner what you wrote, but maybe just discuss how questions like these and experiences like this on this survey could affect a student's desire or motivation to come to school or affect their performance while they're in school. So does anyone have anything that they want to share and volunteer with the group? Okay.
If a student has experienced a lot of the hardships on the questionnaire in their life, they might be depressed and not want to come to school. They probably have a lot of more serious issues on their mind, like some of these things, than actually coming to school.
Good, thank you. That's very true. These ACE questionnaires, what they stand for is Adverse Childhood Experiences, and it basically tallies up anything that happened in your life before the age of 18. And there is a direct correlation with a high ACE score and chronic absenteeism. So students that do have high ACE scores, they typically are students that are chronically absent from school. Today I'm going to give you some strategies to hopefully help you reduce the chronic absenteeism in your own classroom. Okay, so now I'm going to pass out this note-taking worksheet. as we go through this program today, you could just jot down anything that we talk about. Make sure that, you take anything with you back to your classroom, strategies that you think might be helpful, things that you might want to remember from here on out. Okay, so in that first block, the first top 2 blocks of that note-taking worksheet, what I want you to do is write down 3 concerns that you feel for students that are chronically absent and 3 frustrations that you might have or apprehensions that you might have for students that are chronically absent and they come back to school. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to jot down any concerns or frustrations that you have with students who are chronically absent. so does anyone want to just share what they talked about with their partner or some ideas that they jotted down? Sure, go ahead.
My partner and I discussed the concern about where our students are instead of school. We teach 17 and 18-year-olds, so we wonder, are they just at home sleeping, or are they out on the streets doing things they shouldn't be doing?
Okay, good. So that's definitely a concern, especially in more urban areas, teachers that have students that live in cities where there's gang violence and things like that. A lot of times students aren't skipping school to sleep in. They're actually out doing things that they shouldn't be doing that are dangerous. So that's definitely a concern. Anyone else want to share anything?
Yeah, we shared some frustrations about students coming back to class after being out for quite a while. And students come in and they need undivided attention to be caught back up. Meanwhile, we have 25 other students to teach that day's lessons to.
That's definitely an issue as well. And if you're the only teacher in the room, it's hard to be two places at once, and it's hard to keep the kids engaged that have been in class every day and keep them up to pace while also, backtracking to kids that have been absent for so many days. So thanks for sharing. Those are definitely some concerns and frustrations that all teachers feel. And hopefully today you'll get some strategies to help you with some of these problems. Okay, so part of the reason that I'm doing this workshop as a counselor for the school is because part of a counselor's role is consulting. Consulting is a little bit different than counseling. Consulting is working with multiple people in your school as a team to try and come to a solution. So when dealing with chronic absenteeism, it is important to work with students and parents individually as well as in a group to meet with them together with other school personnel, administrators, maybe mentors in the school, teachers, and counselors. So that's why it's important for you as teachers and us as counselors to work together. So just some background information about chronic absenteeism. The definition and what that means is that it's defined as missing 15 or more school days in 1 year. And that about 14% of students in the United States are considered chronically absent each year. And like we said earlier with that Adverse Childhood Experiences survey, a high ACE number directly correlates with chronic absenteeism and missing school. So some facts to share with you about chronic absenteeism. About 125,000 North Carolina students are chronically absent each year. This is not only a statewide problem, but a nationwide problem. Children with certain risk factors such as poverty, homelessness, and chronic illnesses are more likely to be chronically absent. Like we talked about with that ACE questionnaire, when there's more going on at home, obviously their last concern is getting to school. 60% of parents have a child that was absent an average of 2 or more days a month, and they had no realization that actually equates to 10 days a year. Attendance is higher when schools promote a sense of belonging and connection, including when the students show up. And the first month of school is a big predictor of chronic absence. Students who are out a few days of school in September were 5 times more likely to be chronically absent throughout the rest of the school year. So that's just some background information about the topic. Now we're going to get into some strategies that you can use in your classrooms to get kids to come to school more often, and also to when they are absent and come back to school, to how to deal with it. The first strategy, and then if you look at your note-taking worksheet, there's a little space there that you can jot down some of these ideas so that you can take them back to your own classroom. So please don't be shy, write these down. The first strategy is that teachers should create an engaging and positive classroom culture. Give students a choice when learning and allow them to talk about themselves in class. Get to know students' interests and struggles to build rapport with them. The more engaged a student is in class, the more they will want to be in school and attend class. So the more that you make your class relevant to a student, more of a safe place for a student, the more willing they will be to show up to school. An easy way to do that is to make topics relevant give them choice in projects. Don't just give them, if a student is really interested in art, maybe have them do an art project rather than a paper. Just make things more relevant and interesting to students. A second strategy, teachers, counselors, and administrators could create a positive and open relationship with parents and guardians. It's important to have an open relationship with home, so that way you can keep in touch with them and they also know. Some possible ways to do this are making home visits, if possible, if you live in an area where that's possible, reaching out to parents via email or phone call, monthly or even weekly in some severe cases, to update on their students' achievement and attendance, or sending home a weekly newsletter to keep parents and students connected with the school community. Keeping parents or guardians in the loop with their students' academic life will definitely help encourage and engage the parents and students more with the school community and encourage them to show up to school more. Teachers can act as mentors to at-risk students a few times a week during the school day and even after school. Teachers and students will meet to discuss their attendance, their classwork and homework, upcoming tests, and after-school activities to join. Teacher and student can also discuss goals and steps to achieve that goal. Having an adult in school investing their time in the student will motivate the student to come to school more often. So being a mentor to an at-risk student will definitely encourage the student to come to school. It will make the student more invested and want to show up for that person. Like we talked about, some of these kids don't have anyone at home that cares about them, that wants them to do well. So just by being that presence and they know that they have a safe space in school or a safe adult to come to with any concerns they have, will definitely encourage them to get to school in the morning. A fourth strategy, teachers and administrators could set attendance goals and then reward students when goals are met. Giving out certificates or something as simple as making an announcement on the loudspeaker to acknowledge the students who have reached their attendance goal and who come to school and make school a priority. These don't have to be anything out of left field, anything too expensive or crazy. I know that most schools have very small budgets, but something as small as giving them a piece of candy, giving them, privileges to go out for lunch instead of eating in the cafeteria. Something small that doesn't cost the district any money are easy ways to recognize students who have achieved and reached the goal that they set for themselves of coming to school. It doesn't even have to be perfect attendance. Some students who are chronically absent will never get perfect attendance. But if they, made it 2 weeks without being absent, that's achievable for them. So making the goals reachable and achievable is important as well. The fifth strategy is that teachers could encourage students to join after-school activities like a sports team or club. When students are a part of a team or group, they have more of a responsibility to show up to school as to not let their teammates or advisors down. Students involved in extracurriculars have something that they are interested in to do after school, which will increase their motivation to get to school. So this one is huge, especially for for students who are invested in a sport. I know a lot of students when I was in the classroom only came to school during their sports season, and then after their sports season their attendance slowly went on the decline. So obviously having something that they're invested in, that they're a part of a team where they don't want to let their teammates or their coaches down is important. So if you can encourage students to join something, it doesn't have to be a sport. It could be a club, it could be the play, it could be the chorus, anything, the chess club, anything where students feel like they're part of a group and can't let their fellow teammates down or group mates down would definitely give them more of a reason to show up and make them more invested in the school community. And the last strategy we're going to talk about today is that teachers can take attendance in a positive way. When a student who has been out for a while comes back to class, teachers should think about how they are welcoming the student back. Instead of saying things like, wow, look what the cat dragged in, went to a student who hasn't been here in a while, you could say, or saying things like, where have you been? Or why haven't you been here? In a negative connotation. Instead, say things like, welcome back, we missed you, I'll catch you up in a second, take your seat and I'll be right with you. Changing the tone of your welcome to students will make them feel like a valuable part of the classroom, will make them feel missed, will make them feel like they are a part of this group and this community, and it will again encourage them to show up to school. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some time to come up with your own strategies that you use in your own classroom. I know that you're all teachers here, you're all experts in your own way. So if you want to jot down some ideas about, with strategies that you use in your own room when students are chronically absent, and then we're going to share as a group. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do that. So I'll set my timer. Okay, so I've given you some time to share some strategies that you use in your own classrooms, or maybe to come up with some things that you thought about while sitting here. Does anyone want to share for the good of the group? Go ahead, sir.
You could have teachers record attendance in homeroom every day on a program called Power School, and if attendance reaches 5 days or more, if the absences reach 5 days or more, teachers should report this to administration and counselors and need to call home immediately, especially if it's closer to the start of the year.
Okay, good. Yeah, definitely start tracking attendance or troublesome attendance right from the get-go in the beginning of the year, and reaching out to home right in the beginning is definitely a great point. I think catching it early in the year is important and crucial in trying to set an atmosphere of coming to school. So definitely, thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
You could request parents to come to the school for a workshop on chronic absenteeism.
Okay, so like I said earlier, a lot of parents don't really understand what it means to be chronically absent, what the implications are for their students when they are chronically absent, and how quickly days add up for their kids. So definitely informing parents or having them sit in a workshop like this, I think would be another great idea. So both really good options. Okay, so the next thing that I want you guys to do is you're going to break up into groups of 4. Just kind of turn to the groups around you, to the people around you. And what you're going to do is this side of the room is going to be responsible for coming up with an incentive program to reward students for continuously coming to school. You have to include an achievable goal for each student and a cheap and easy way to implement those goals. And then this half of the room, on this side of the room, I want you to come up with a mentoring program for at-risk students and teachers. And I want you to come up with some guidelines for mentoring between the mentor and mentee, and also create goals for each mentee. Does anyone have any questions about this? Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'm going to give you a couple minutes to work on that with your group. Okay, so does anyone have any suggestions or anything to share that you came up with your group? Go ahead.
My group came up with an incentive program for absenteeism or lack thereof, which would be if for every 2 weeks that a kid isn't absent, they could get a homework pass for a class of their choice. And then if they went a whole month without being absent, we could throw a pizza party for them.
Okay, cool. With the other kids that were also absent, like a pizza party after school. Okay, good. That's an awesome suggestion. So before we wrap up for the day, I just wanted you guys to kind of process and what you learned today in this workshop. You've all been really great participants. So I'm going to be passing around these questionnaires. Okay. Jot down some answers to how you felt that this workshop went, how involved you were. Answer some of these questions, and then we'll discuss them as a group. All right, so let's go over how we felt about some of these. So for number one, it says, how involved was I in the activities and discussions? Does anybody want to share? Go ahead.
I felt very proud of this workshop and very relevant to the population of students that I teach.
Good, thank you. Okay, does anyone else want to answer one of the questions posed that they felt that they could answer?
For the question of what did I learn or relearn, I learned that chronic absenteeism is a huge problem throughout the country and not just in my district, and that a lot of times there's outlying factors and it's not just kids playing hooky.
Good, thank you. Anyone else would like to share? Go ahead.
I can use what I learned by starting a mentoring program and inviting some of my colleagues to also be mentors.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Anything else? Go ahead.
I feel most comfortable making my lessons engaging and allowing choices in my lesson plans.
Good, because you're a master teacher, I'm sure, so that's probably something very easy for you to do. It wouldn't take much extra work for you to help these students who have, chronic absenteeism. So before I let you guys go for the day, I just wanted to say thank you very much for being here today. You guys were an awesome group. You participated. You were engaged. I really appreciate you coming. It's also great that, you're here to try and help your students in any way you can. And I know you work hard every day with your students. And just coming here to try and implement these things is a blessing to the kids that you teach. So does anyone have any questions before I pass out the final evaluation? Jordan?
Can we reach out to you in the future for suggestions or if you have any questions?
Absolutely. So if you wanted to jot down my email is Colette Mullen, my name, which is on the note-taking sheet at yahoo.com. So feel free to reach out anytime you need any suggestions, questions, concerns, anything you need. I'm here to be a resource for you. But before you leave, if everyone could just fill out one of these evaluations that I'm passing out. I appreciate any and all feedback you have, whether it's positive or negative. I take this feedback and then, look at it from here and kind of fix the workshop or make the workshop better, however I can, based on your feedback. So any feedback is much appreciated. And then on your way out, you can just hand me the paper. And again, thank you all for coming today.
Thank you.